Welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you so much for joining me today as we are going to dive into a special topic in astrology as we focus on the energies of Black Moon Lilith and her balancing counterpoint, White Moon Selena. And I'm going to discuss more of the energies, expressions, and archetypal understandings of each of these energies, as well as how they are designed to support us and how to understand them more, not only in your astrology chart, but in your consciousness and in your personal expression. I want to begin by pointing out that there are actually four Liliths in astrology. And let me separate them out so that you can understand what we are looking at here. So there is asteroid Lilith. Asteroid Lilith is the actual only physical body of Lilith. The other three are locations. They are locations in the astronomy of our solar system, which I'll explain in a moment. But asteroid Lilith is the one that we can see visually, which is different from the other three Liliths. Asteroid Lilith is found in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. And this asteroid Lilith is usually connected with what we want to stand up for and how we want to be seen in terms of our morals, our ethics, what we fight for, what we rebel against. This is an activist. She is the energy of I matter. I have something to say and I won't be held back. I won't be repressed because that has been part of her story. She is connected with women who go against the grain, women who take a stand, whether that is politically, culturally, historically. She is an outlier of sorts because she will do what she wants when she feels that energy within her. And some have associated this asteroid Lilith with Eris, and Eris exists beyond Pluto. Eris is known as a trans-Neptunian object and is connected to these archetypal energies of what we do when we need to be in our power, even when it's against what is considered acceptable, typical, or mainstream. So that's asteroid Lilith. Now we're going to talk about the other three Liliths to understand more of this energy. So Black Moon Lilith is the most commonly referred to Lilith. And when you are looking up information on Black Moon Lilith, this is typically what you're reading and understanding. But Black Moon Lilith is calculated in two different manners and is not an actual object like asteroid Lilith is. Rather, Black Moon Lilith is a location. It's a point in relation to the moon's orbit. Black Moon Lilith is associated with lunar apogee, and that's the furthest point, not only from the moon's orbit, but also the furthest away from Earth. So lunar apogee is way, way out there, and it's in the darkness, in the shadows, the furthest away from light. And we understand that this Black Moon Lilith is actually calculated in two ways. And it's important to understand the two different calculations when you're looking these up in your chart, because they're going to show up in two different ways. Now, the reason why there are two different calculations for Black Moon Lilith is because the true or oscillating orbit varies widely. And so that's where it can be hard to look at exactly where Black Moon Lilith is. And there is another calculation called the mean orbit, which is the average of her orbit, the average of her path. And it's typically that mean calculation, that's how we understand Black Moon Lilith's orbit and path, because the Black Moon Lilith calculation through the mean value is when we see that Black Moon Lilith spends 9 months in each astrological sign. And this is important just to know for those of you who like the specifics. Black Moon Lilith is calculated in two manners, very similar to how the North Node and South Node are calculated in two manners. Whereas we have the true node and the mean node. The same is true for Black Moon Lilith, which is why there are four, because there's technically two Black Moon Lilith points based on either the true or mean value. So when we go with the calculation that focuses on her average time in each sign, she spends 9 months in each astrological sign, which means about every 9 years or so, there is a Black Moon Lilith return in your chart. And I'm going to get to that in just a minute. But first, I want to discuss briefly the fourth Lilith. So we've talked about asteroid Lilith. We've talked about there's two ways that Black Moon Lilith is calculated. Then there's the fourth Lilith, which is actually also called the dark moon Lilith. It's like, can they make this any more confusing? So we have Black Moon Lilith, which is different than Dark Moon Lilith. And Dark Moon Lilith is actually called Waldemath Lilith. So that's a phrase or term you might see, Waldemath Lilith. And this archetype is actually associated with even more darkness, shadow energies, even more depth of what's in our psyche. This also is not an actual body. It is been caught at a glimpse. It's known as the ghost Lilith, as it appears to be dust, cosmic dust. So it seems to be there, and there have been disagreements amongst astronomers about its reality and if it really exists, because you catch sight of it and then it disappears, and even associated with evil and darkness that we can't see that drifts in and out. So just a brief review there of the four different Liliths, but we're focusing in on this Black Moon Lilith that is connected with lunar apogee and is where we see the energy spend 9 months in each sign. And so this Black Moon Lilith is about the darker areas of our shadow, parts of ourselves that we don't want anyone to necessarily see or know about at times. It can be connected with our desires, revenge, impulses. It's related to karma from past lives. It's related to parts of our energetic experiences that maybe we don't feel so strong around, but we're learning to accept these parts of ourselves, especially as we continue to grow in our consciousness and accept the fullness of who we are and how our energy works. Now, Black Moon Lilith, as I said, it takes about 9 years for this point or location to move through all 12 astrological signs. So that means when you're born, Lilith is located somewhere in your chart, and then around the age of 9, 18, 27, 36, 45, 54, and so on, you have what's called a Black Moon Lilith return. Now, if you're looking this up in your astrology chart, you would look under H13. You would look up H13, which is connected with the true Black Moon Lilith, or H21, which is connected with the mean Black Moon Lilith. Again, two calculations for finding this location as it relates to the moon's orbit. And typically, they're very close together. So they can be within a few degrees or so, but it's that mean Black Moon Lilith that is commonly referenced when we're calculating more about the exact time spent in each astrological sign. So Black Moon Lilith returns every 9 years to where it was at birth. And this is where you could have new understandings of what you're working out karmically and where you are needing to hold back from something, especially when you're triggered. And that's part of how this Black Moon Lilith energy can rise up. She can be quite rebellious. She's actually connected with the times we want to separate ourselves from others and be alone. We want to be in our own sovereign energy and expression. And this can be the shadowy parts of ourselves that we don't always want other people to know about or to see in us. This energy of Black Moon Lilith also is associated with a biblical story where Lilith was the first wife of Adam. But she did not want to be inferior. She saw herself as an equal. She wasn't going to be submissive. And guess what? That was not acceptable. So she was punished and thrown out of the garden, so to speak. And she decided to invest in becoming more of her own person. And this energy of Lilith is where we understand that our self-worth is not meant to be decreased or devalued simply by standing in our power, standing on our own, honoring our independence and our equality. And so this energy of Black Moon Lilith is where we can take a stand to fight for those inequalities and to claim our sovereign power, to claim our independence. Perhaps you've heard how Black Moon Lilith is connected to some of these very secretive, shadowy energies where she can harbor jealousy, envy, resentment. She can feel into her temptations and desires. This is where things can be hidden, again, that we don't want others to see. Perhaps addictions or obsessions, the shadowy parts of ourselves that we don't want to always acknowledge. And remember how this location is the furthest away from the moon and from the earth, so it has the least amount of light. It's where we retreat into ourselves to really look at some deeper parts of our internal workings and what we really want. It's also where we separate ourselves from others. We separate ourselves for whatever reason. Perhaps, again, we're taking a stand, or we're feeling that something is not just, not fair, or we don't want to be a part of it. We want to separate ourselves away from something and go into more of what is truer for us, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily good for us. So getting back to this Black Moon Lilith return that occurs every 9 years, in your natal chart, Black Moon Lilith is highlighting what you're working through at a karmic level that you revisit every 9 years to check in with your triggers, to check in with your desires, to check in with your unconscious nature. This can be very primal energy. It's the parts of ourselves that we don't always see because it is so primal. But the more that we make it conscious, of course, the more that we're understanding things. So we're understanding more about what we want to do if we weren't going to have consequences, if you weren't going to be caught or called out. It's that part of ourselves that can test the limits, test what is possible. So think about around 9 years of age, when you're maturing into more of the world, you're understanding how things work, and you want to test some boundaries. You want to test, will there be consequences to this? If I steal a piece of gum from the drugstore, am I going to get caught? If I do something to my brother or my sister, am I going to get in trouble by my parents? If I decide to sneak something and hide it under my mattress, is anyone else going to find out? So 9 years old is when these energies can first show up. And then as we mature, as we grow, we have this cycle every 9 years. It's going to test those same themes. So then if something happens at 9, and let's say you do get caught, loss prevention sees you on those security cameras stealing that gum or that toy or that sweater, and you're caught, then you have the consequences of those actions. By the time you're 18, you've learned from those actions and those consequences. Or maybe you haven't. And there's things that you're moving into with that Black Moon Lilith return that brings up more of those energies. Every 9 years is an opportunity to check in with these Black Moon Lilith triggers and the thoughts in the deep recesses of your mind that might be wanting to test what will happen, what will develop, or what will come about if someone else knows. So there's a privacy here with Black Moon Lilith. Now, a lot of information on Black Moon Lilith is around sexual independence. It's around what we do with our bodies, our sexual expression. It's how we use our bodies. This can also be associated with prostitution. This can be a part of our experiences where we'll do anything to be loved, to be seen, to be accepted. Of course, there's so many ways this energy can show up. I just wanted to highlight some of the themes here so that when you're looking up your Black Moon Lilith, you can understand more of what is showing up that is testing you. And again, this can be directly related to karma from past lives. These can be the energies that you participated in or activated in other soul experiences that are coming back around to help you understand your choices and to look at what is this really about for me? Because sometimes the Black Moon Lilith energy, we learn from our mistakes, and those mistakes may have caused shame, guilt, self-loathing. I hate that I stole that book when I was 9 years old, or I'm really ashamed of myself for how I behaved when I was 18, or when something unfolded when I was 27. Etc. So there's energy here that's very personal. And because this is on the dark side of the moon, it is not only personal and private, but we're internally working through it. And it can open up how we handle low vibe karma, and also potentially a path of atonement. A path of, no, I'm going to make a commitment to myself to be better, to do better, to not circulate in this energy or these choices again. I'm going to learn from this. And that is also how the Black Moon Lilith energy can be a guide. And she also can show us what we have not fully learned yet, what we haven't fully integrated or mastered, what we are still, again, working through that maybe was damaging, harmful, painful. And it can show that I don't want to be that person who makes those choices. I don't want to live my life in that energy in that way. And so this is one of the things that Black Moon Lilith can reveal to us in our own humanity, in our own soul experiences. Now, if your Black Moon Lilith is working personally in your chart with a personal planet being Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, or Mars, then this energy is stronger for you in this lifetime and might feel bigger, more prevalent, something that you're already familiar with. If Black Moon Lilith is not conjunct or in a direct aspect with any of your planets, then it can feel like, again, it's a very separate energy. You don't fully see it or realize it. It's out there. So it will depend on each person's chart how they are experiencing this energy of Black Moon Lilith. And so you can look up the 2 points of Black Moon Lilith in your chart. If you want to look up the true Black Moon Lilith, that is point H13, or the mean Black Moon Lilith is point H21. So you would go to astro.com, and under the menu, you'd go to free horoscopes, and then horoscope drawings and data, and then extended chart selection. Scroll down, and under additional objects, you would type in H13 or H21. And again, they're going to be close to each other, but they might be in different signs as well. So that is how you would identify where you have Black Moon Lilith in your natal astrology chart, and where her energy is showing up for you to be wiser, to be smarter, to learn and grow from your own mistakes, to actively and consciously work with your shadow, with the parts of you that maybe you don't want other people to see, what is hidden, secretive, protected. But as humanity's consciousness rises, and as our spiritual growth continues on and we become more intuitive and more psychic, these are parts of ourselves that are not hidden. They're not hidden. In fact, we feel it, we sense it more. Perhaps you pick it up in yourself or in others. And it's also where we need to be understanding of our own humanity and that we are these huge vessels of energy that have had so many soul experiences. And we have also been in situations where we felt kicked out of the garden, ostracized, misaligned, marginalized. And this Black Moon Lilith holds those energy signatures of the reaction to that level of pain, damage, and harm. So it's quite understandable why we are working out parts of our experiences through the archetypal expressions of Black Moon Lilith. Now, what is beautiful though, and what creates harmony, is that her counterpart is White Moon Selena. And I wouldn't be surprised if you haven't heard much about White Moon Selena, but she is the opposite point of Black Moon Lilith in the moon's orbit. And she is the virtual point that's closest to the Earth from the moon's orbit, and it's called lunar perigee. And so she's closest to the light. And White Moon Selena is actually H56 in the astrological library of points. So again, you would go to astro.com and under extended chart selection, you would type in H56 to find White Moon Selena. She's also called Selene, and she's also referred to as White Moon. So you might see a few different descriptions of her names. White Moon Selena spends about 7 months in each astrological sign. And based on her orbit, remember, this is a point. It's a location, not a physical object, that spends about 7 months in each astrological sign. And around every 7 years, there is a White Moon Selena return. So let's talk more about the energies of White Moon Selena, because this is connected with pure light. This is the balancing point of the Black Moon Lilith energies that support us in connecting to our grace, our purity. And I think of it as an angel halo. And it's connected to our divinity and what we know is best, what we know is good, and where we carry that energy as well, not only in our vibrational frequencies, but in our soul's history. So White Moon Selena is the point in your chart where you are beautifully protected, where you are supported, even where that angelic glow is very strong and very pure. And it brings out the best in you. It brings out the best in a situation where your spiritual blessings can show up. She's very high vibrational. This is where we have joy in doing the right thing. And what I feel very strongly about White Moon Selena is that it's where we feel good doing the right thing, even when no one's watching. When no one knows, when no one's aware of it except us. It's between you and your spirit, you and your angelic team, where you show up, you do the right thing, you do the best thing, you have honor and integrity, and you understand how energetics work. And so part of White Moon Selena's gift is that it's the accumulation of what we would call good karma, where we've done wonderful things throughout multiple lifetimes, and the universe knows that. The universe understands it. So this is where we have an accumulation of high vibrational energy, where we understand that when you see everything in the universe as energetic, what will you choose? What will you say? What will you do? And there can be a natural high with this, where White Moon Selena connects us to the purity of your soul's energy field and validates you with good deeds, the right choice, staying in that high vibrational energy signature. This is also where, because there has been an accumulation of energy across multiple lifetimes, you feel naturally protected. You understand that White Moon Selena is shining her bright, gorgeous white light on what is best for you, what is meant for you, what you have done well in other lifetimes, and now it's coming back around as some kind of reward or happiness or joyful development. White Moon Selena is an energy that we want to really connect with and integrate because it takes us into a point of pure unity consciousness and will unite you with more of your energy outside of the time-space continuum, raise you up, show you the higher perspective, and then you'll feel just this internal sense of how to do what's best or what is the right thing, how to remain in your spiritual sovereignty, your spiritual strength. So this is a benevolent energy. I think of it as a benevolent angel of light, of protection, of support and love. There's a lot of compassion here. And it's funny because I get the viewpoint that sometimes we can feel like we have Black Moon Lilith on one shoulder and White Moon Selena on the other shoulder. And commonly we see that as the devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other shoulder. But I see it as this understanding of the vastness of our humanness, of our experiences, of the energies we've moved through, and for all the ways that you could feel that the Black Moon Lilith energy might be stronger for you. Well, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to discuss White Moon Selena, so that you can focus in on her energy signature, on what she's about, on how she can balance us and provide us with better choices for the long term, and perhaps offer more connection to your soul's consciousness and how we navigate through our lives and through our world with those choices being more evident and clear. Now, at this time, Lilith is in the late degrees of Leo, and Selena is in Aries. White Moon Selena is actually at 20 degrees of Aries, and Lilith is around 27 degrees of Leo. So you can check out your chart and see if either of these are showing up strongly for you at this time, as they are really good indicators of the energy you're feeling or sensing, what might be coming up for you in terms of a response, in terms of a trigger, also in terms of a healing. And I feel that White Moon Selena connects us with our higher path of spiritual mastery, of spiritual protection, and the energetics at play that we can open up and step into. White Moon Selena also wants us to have a confidence in ourselves and to understand the power of our light, the power of our energy, and to really connect with that high vibration, to not feel so separate from it, but rather to integrate more of ourselves and our truth into our spiritual path. So as we discuss Black Moon Lilith and White Moon Selena, again, both are locations related to the moon's orbit. So this brings up the wisdom of lunar Trinity, of the trilogy of the moon, where the moon is connected to right now, the present moment, what you're feeling, what you're sensing, what you're tapping into. The moon being very subjective, but also ebbing and flowing, shifting and changing. Our daily evolutionary experience of energies is connected to the moon. But when we look at the moon in relation to these other 2 points, it activates triple goddess energy, the 3 expressions of our emotional world, the ways that we can feel one thing in the present moment, which is the moon, But then how Black Moon Lilith might be giving us another message, another response as she taps into more of our primal emotional world, what we would do or how we would respond, even if no one ever knows. It can be that first survival response that Black Moon Lilith brings up. Then we have the higher vibrational understanding of White Moon Selena and how she is in the light and she wants to shine a light on what would be the better response, the better way to handle this. How are you emotionally growing and maturing? And so she offers a pathway towards higher emotional wisdom and comes even from a place of not only integrity, but personal responsibility to your own emotional world, to your own emotional process. So here we have the triple goddess expression of Black Moon Lilith, the moon, and White Moon Selena. And the triple goddess expression goes back to pagan times, goes back to the understanding of a feminine growth process, to how we mature and emotionally evolve throughout our lives and how we accumulate wisdom that really helps us operate differently, that shows us new ways of showing up, of honoring our needs, tapping into our wisdom, and what we can do with everything we've lived through and experienced. And so Black Moon Lilith can be associated with the maiden, the teenager, the rebel, the one who doesn't have a lot of life experience yet. She's learning as she goes. She's understanding more about who she is, what she wants. She learns through trial and error. She learns through her mistakes, and she understands more about how the world works as she makes choices, as she shows up, as she has experiences with other people. Then we have the mother, which is associated with the moon, specifically the fullness of the moon. When the moon is bright and bursting with energy, when the moon is alive and ripe. And that's really what I'm thinking of here as we go through these three archetypes, is that the full moon is associated with the fullness of maturing into being a woman or into the feminine expressions of energies, which of course can show up and play out in any number of ways. In ancient times, this was more associated with becoming a mother, with the womb being filled with life, carrying a child or children, and how that creates a whole new rite of passage in life or into another chapter of your journey. In modern times, we know that is not the case for everyone. That is not everyone's choice or soul path to become a mother or to experience pregnancy. But this is understanding how there is energy associated with the emotional maturing of yourself to be aware of other people's needs, to be aware of how we care for and nurture, and are simply able to recognize other people's experiences, other people's energy. And so the fullness of the moon is related to the fuller experience of emotional wisdom and maturity. And then eventually that leads us into this third expression of White Moon Selena, which is also connected with the expressions of crone energy, where there is a wisdom and maturity that we've lived through, that's been gained through firsthand experiences, that has helped us understand how the world works or how things play out. And so how you make the right choices. I also feel like the maturity of White Moon Selena is also knowing when to retract your energy, how to not be involved in things that aren't emotionally good for you. How to step away when you don't want to participate or you don't want to be involved in something, but to stay in that high vibrational expression or to maintain your peace while also having compassion and understanding for what others are choosing or what others are going through. So White Moon Selena offers us a wisdom of our choices, of our experiences, our energies, our expressions that we often gain through lived events, and we can reflect upon them. And that is also an important word here when we're talking about lunar energies. Lunar energies reflect and absorb. Lunar energies will reveal back to us a mirror of something or shine a light on a part of ourselves that we can see with higher consciousness and then decide, how will I show up? How will I respond? And I feel like this is a beautiful ongoing dance where take it at a small trigger for you, or a minor event, or something happens and you have that first initial right? That first initial response, reaction, and maybe there's things you would say or do if there were no consequences. But we don't live in that paradigm. We live in a paradigm where energy comes back around. And so we have to be mindful and conscious of what we do, what we say, how we show up, how we respond. And so this is where we can really acknowledge perhaps that initial primal urge of, oh, I wish I could do this. But we know through experience that wouldn't be the best choice. But that could certainly be your Black Moon Lilith. This is also the energy, I think of it as the evil stepsisters in Cinderella. And even the ways that being punishing or jealous or envious can feel good to the ego, can bring up something in you that maybe feels good in the moment, but it doesn't often last for the long term. It doesn't play out for the long term. And then I see this White Moon Selena as evolving into how we can be in our goodness, to trust the purity of universal energies to see us through. And this could certainly be Cinderella, or the sense of, yeah, there's things that are tough that we have to work through, but I'm going to choose the higher path. I'm going to choose the purity of my soul. I'm going to choose what I know is going to take me further and higher. And I'm also going to connect to all the energies in other lifetimes where I've made this same choice. Again, when no one was looking, you did the right thing. But the universe knows. The universe knows how you showed up and will reward you in kind and will ensure that those are the energies that come back around to protect you, to bless you, and to support you. So these energies compose the lunar trinity of our emotional self, our emotional world. Perhaps you're tuning in or tapping into what has been bigger for you in your life. And again, in your astrology chart, you can look at where White Moon Selena shows up, and that again is point number H56. You can look at where Black Moon Lilith is for you. You could look up actually all of the Black Moon Lilith points. So again, H13, H21 are the Black Moon Lilith points. Asteroid Lilith, if you want to check out Asteroid Lilith, is 1181. And then there's Dark Moon Lilith, the one that's the ghost energies, the ghost shadow, and that is H58. So I hope this brings you into new areas of your chart, into your world, into your experience. And it can also reveal some of the lower expressions of feminine energies that you've been working through in this lifetime. Where if you've been on the receiving end of jealousy, envy, resentment, then it could be that the Black Moon Lilith archetypes are strong in your chart as something that you're working through in this lifetime. Perhaps you were that energy in another lifetime, and this is karma balancing itself. So, of course, trust the energies for yourself, trust what you're feeling and what is coming up for you. But I hope this opens up some more things to investigate and understand, not only in your energy, but of course in your astrology chart as well. On my YouTube channel, I have a playlist for you that shows and discusses more about the asteroids, the goddess energy, and the dwarf planet. So please check out that playlist. It does talk more about Black Moon Lilith and Eris, how they are related. It also dives into more of the asteroid goddesses, as Demetra George calls them in her wonderful book, and can be really fascinating to look at more of these feminine archetypal expressions in your life, in your energy, and in your chart. So as always, thank you so much for joining me for today's podcast episode. I will be back every Wednesday and Monday for a new episode. On Wednesday, we do the weekly energies, and on Monday, we do these special topics. And I have another special topic coming up for you on September 18th. So thank you all for joining me. You can find out more about my current astrology courses and offerings at mollymccord.online. And do be sure to check out the Nodes of Fate course, where we look at the North Node in Aries and the South Node in Libra, and how those energies are opening up new fated developments for you in this cycle. What destiny is opening up and bringing your way, where you're ready for a new start, a new beginning, while also assessing what is complete, what is out of balance, what choices you no longer seek or desire to put energy into. It's very important to understand this because it's a 9-year cycle. And so whatever the North Node in Aries is opening up for you, it's a 9-year cycle of beginnings that are underway. Whereas whatever is closing out for you with Libra is where you want to be more intentional and understand perhaps, I don't want to carry this around for 9 more years. So when we work with astrology intentionally, we are definitely more in our power and we're more aware of how we're using our energy. So do check out that course. Wishing you a beautiful day ahead. Hope that you have some really cool breakthroughs with this information. And as always, thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to connecting with you again soon through this wild, awesome world of astrology.